Good morning everyone. Tara basa tayo na ating libro guys. Kapwa ko Filipino, magbasa tayo na ating sariling history book. History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 04 April 2023. History of the Filipino People Part 6, the Third Republic. Topic number 29, the cultural and social scene. Nandito tayo sa paragraph The arts. Mahaba-haba to guys. The arts. Plastic arts in the Philippines have been for the most part of European type and background. From Damian Domingo, the father of Filipino painting, to Fernando Amorsolo, Filipino painting, has been largely influenced by European, especially Spanish brush. This tendency continued down to the end of the American colonial period in the mid-1930s. However, Filipino painters, many of whom had studied in American art schools, introduced the so-called modernist concept of art. Victorio Edades, Diosdado M. Lorenzo, Hernando R. Ocampo, Galo B. Ocampo, Vicente Manansala, and a few others lead the modernist school. There was furor not only in the ranks of the painters themselves but also among the laymen and critics. Ignacio Manlapas, with an art critic, and Guillermo A. Tolentino, the great Filipino sculptor, both from the University of the Philippines, denounced the new trend as a hoax. Edades and the two Ocampos promptly came to the defense of the modernists and in turn accused the conservative group of misunderstanding the nature and function of art. The critical debate subsided during the Japanese occupation, but when the smoke of battle was lifted in 1945, the modernists found themselves enjoying a wide reputation. Composed mostly of young men and women, the modernists, rebelling against the alleged despotic tradition of the School of Fine Arts of the University of the Philippines, called for a creative approach to painting, maintaining that painting is not a medium for a story or literature or any extraneous matter alien to plastic art. This individualistic philosophy of art led to the rise of the neo-realist school of painting. Originally composed of Vicente Manansala, Cesar F. Legazpi, Hernando R. Ocampo, Romeo Vitabuena, Victor Oteiza, and Ramon Estela, the school expanded its membership to include such notable painters as Victorio Edades, Arturo Rogerio Luz, Fernando Zobel, Diosdado M. Lorenzo, Anita Magsaysay Ho, Sinan Rivera, Nina Sagal, Jose Tejoya, Jesus Aiko, and others. Their works have been popularized by art associations, notably the Art Association of the Philippines and the Philippine Art Gallery. Not belonging to the neo-realist, but nevertheless a very competent painter, is Carlos V. Francisco, who died in 1969. He stood between the conservative and the modernists. He was the foremost Filipino muralist. Some of the abstract paintings of the neo-realists have been under attack for being incomprehensible and have been variously described as lunatic expressions and as symbols of a confused and decadent society. These abstract paintings, though, have one great advantage over other kinds of painting: they can be hung on the walls in any position one likes and get away with it. The trend of modern Filipino painting is towards the blending of Oriental and Occidental elements. The Orientalism in contemporary painting is shown in rich, brilliant colors in the subject of the individual painter, in the decorative tendency, and in the calligraphic technique. The same rebellion, but not so intense, that characterizes the development of Filipino painting is shown in sculpture. The wood and stone works of Napoleon V. Abueva, the foremost sculptor among the Filipino modernists, show a radical departure from the classicism of Guillermo E. Tolentino, the high priest of Filipino sculpture. Modernist sculpture, unfortunately, is not as popular as modernist painting, probably because most people are not yet sufficiently exposed to the beauty and meaning of, say, a piece of sculptured stone which looks like an almaris, stone mortar and pestle, or a piece of wood which to many looks like a paddle. Thus one lay commentator, looking at the photographs of some of Abueva's pieces, acidly commented, "Is this modern sculpture? Give my 6-month-old baby a clod and he will fashion it with his tiny hands into something superior." Filipino art has its competent critics in A. Aguilar Cruz, Ricardo de Metelio, Emmanuel Torres, Leonidas Binesa, and Alfredo Arroses. The first, in particular, and the only art critic hereabouts who connects art expressions to Filipino life. Lately, Emmanuel Torres has entered art criticism through the efforts of art critics and of the artists themselves. Art appreciation has now become a fashion indulged in by many as a form of escape from the sordid aspects of life, and by a few as an occasion to rattle off technical nonsense to impress the naive and the ignorant. The Neurites in particular build mansions and buy modernist paintings to show that they too are civilized. Of music there is little to say. With the death of Nicanor Abelardo and Francisco Santiago, the two great Filipino composers, Filipino music has as a rule turned to the rumba style of noise. The efforts of such heroic musicians and musicologists as Antonio G. Molina, Felipe Padilla de Leon, Eliseo Baljaro, Antonio Buenaventura, Lucio San Pedro, Jose Maceda, and Hilarion Rubio to develop Filipino music by the use of folk literature and folk songs as thematic materials have so far failed to arouse popular interest and sympathy. The primary cause of this apathy to Filipino music is the corroding influence of the American popular song hits which fill the airlanes almost 24 hours a day. Thus the radio stations, instead of exerting a civilizing influence on the audience, actually encourage vulgarization of the latter's taste. The multiplicity of combos and the dearth of active symphony orchestras present a study in contrast, the vulgar completely dominating the civilized. It is true if the newspaper can be relied upon that there seems to be 3 or 4 symphony orchestras, but a close scrutiny of the musicians shows that there is actually only one orchestra. How vulgar the taste of the average Filipino has become is shown by a comparative study of the attendance in a combo exhibition and a concert or stage production. The audience in, say, Padilla de Leon's No Limitang Heri and Pajaro Binhi ng Kalayaan is pitifully small compared with that in, say, a combo on contest in a Riverside Theatre or the British Beatles' idiotic outpourings. Yung ano ng Beatles, guys, parang naabutan ko pa yata. Parang familiar pa yata to sa atin ngayon. Idiotic outpourings. Ulitin ko ha. Padilla de Leon's No Limitang Heri and Pajaros, binhi ng Kalayan is pitifully small compared with that in, say, a combo contest in any Riverside Theatre or the British Beatles' idiotic outpourings. Such cultural imbalance is as much the result of uncritical borrowing as the social conditions. Realizing the necessity of encouraging, ibig sabihin matagal na yung Beatles? Kasi itong history natin is ano pa to eh. Ano na to? Nasa 1965 na ba tayo nito? Yung binabasa natin. Okay, idiotic outpouring. Such cultural imbalance is in much the result of uncritical borrowing as of the social conditions. Realizing the necessity of encouraging Filipino artists to strive for the best and providing a whole. Okay. Ulitin ko. Realizing the necessity of encouraging Filipino artists to strive for the best of providing a home for Filipino creative and performing arts. President Ferdinand Marcos, Lady Mrs. Imelda Romaldez Marcos initiated the Cultural Center movement. Kaya sabi ko familiar na yung Beatles kasi panahon na ni President Marcos, guys, senior. Okay. Ulitin ko ulit. Realizing the necessity of encouraging Filipino artists to strive for the best and of providing a home for Filipino creative and performing arts, President Ferdinand Marcos, Lady Mrs. Imelda Romaldez Marcos, initiated the Cultural Center movement. The members of the elite, native and foreign, answered Mrs. Marcos' call for contributions with alacrity, and within 3 years, sufficient enthusiasm was generated to make the wealthy contribute to the worthy cause. The Cultural Center did not escape the opposition of those who, rightly or wrongly, saw in the center the symbol of a painful bifurcation in Filipino society, the poor against the rich. The opening of the Cultural Center in September 1969 ushered in the era of what may be called cultural discovery and integration for the center is now and it is hoped will continue to be the symbol of the Filipino people's struggle for spiritual alongside material rehabilitation. The hostility in which the center was at first greeted by those involved in the political power struggle has given way to admiration and pride. Bukas na itong social scene, guys. Bye everyone. God bless.